Okay, we're going to start the webinar Visa to Venture. I'm going to share my screen with you. Others can join as they pop in. Let me share my screen. Are you seeing the presentation? Can you see my screen, the presentation?
Yes, yeah, I can see your screen. It says, "Can I start business on my visa?" Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Yes, that's what it is. So hello, everyone. My name is Attorney Crystal Ikanih-Musa. I'm a U.S. immigration and business law attorney. I am the managing partner of Visa Immigration Pro, and I'm the founder of Legally Ready. Visa Immigration Pro is a full service immigration, U.S. immigration and business law practice. And Legally Ready is our education platform. So we have tons of educational content on our website. We have e-courses. We also do a lot of educational content on social media, YouTube, and the likes. So today we're going to talk about something that a lot of immigrants in the United States are confused about. Can you start a business on your visa without violating your immigration status? This is something I get asked a lot, how to structure it, and can your business sponsor your immigration status? Um, we know what the reality is right now. Many immigrants, they want to build businesses and create financial independence, and build a future for themselves, their families in the United States, but they're operating without clear legal guidance. So a lot of people are making mistakes, I've noticed. And unfortunately, the wrong mistake in business can affect your immigration status and your future visas that you can apply for. So we don't want you to make those type of mistakes, and then it affects your ability to stay in the United States. So for the next 30 minutes, what I'm going to do is walk you through how the biggest, first of all, the biggest immigration mistakes immigrants are making, immigrant founders are making, and what your visa options are, what it actually allows you to do, and how a business can potentially sponsor your immigration status as a strategy. And then at the end, we're going to be able to take questions as well. So the first thing I always start off with a legal disclaimer. Before we begin anything, I have to give this quick disclaimer that this training is for educational purposes only and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Immigration law is very fact-specific, which means your individual situation may require personalized legal advice. So today's training is just to give you frameworks and awareness, but it's not individualized legal advice. If you would like that, feel free to engage me officially as your lawyer. So let me tell you about me, why I'm doing this. Um, my parents immigrated into the United States in the 1960s. My parents were also and are still entrepreneurs, ran many businesses in the United States. And this is something that I see in the community as well. Immigrants tend to run businesses um, a lot more than others in the United States. So it's just really something a part of that community. And like I said, I'm an immigration and business lawyer. I'm the managing partner of Visa Immigration Pro. And I'm a business owner and entrepreneur as well. And so I have so many friends, so many family members who run their own businesses. And so I'm very passionate about helping them structure those who are still working on getting their citizenship in the United States, helping them to structure it, and just looking at different pathways so that you can take your immigration journey into your own hands and you don't have to be so dependent and frantic trying to get your status, and looking at business as a way to earn also while you're going through the US immigration process. So that's a little bit about me. Now let's start off with the hard truth. Now, many immigrants unfortunately discover this too late. One of the fastest ways to fall out of status in the United States is starting a business the wrong way. And I see this happen all the time. Someone may tell you, just open up an LLC, just start a business. Everybody's doing it, but here's what they don't explain. Registering a business does not mean you are authorized to work in that business. That is a clear distinction you have to understand. Owning a company is not the same as working in the company. You also need to make that distinction as well. And making money does not mean you are legally authorized to earn that money. I've heard so many stories of people who are on tourist visas and just come into the United States and try to make quick money while they're there. They are violating so many immigration regulations, and they're putting themselves at risk. So it's important that we make these distinctions when dealing with immigration law and your business. So who is this webinar for? This training is for immigrants in the United States, or anyone who's looking to start a business in the United States, who are building businesses or thinking about starting one in the United States. So this also includes F1 students, H1B visa professionals, B1, B2 tourist visa visitors, and many other visa holders who are either in the United States or go back and forth to the United States. This is also for green card holders, immigrants with side businesses, people who are going through the green card process as well, immigrants who are already operating companies. Like I said, there's a large population, immigrant population, that start business in the United States, even when they are still going through their immigration journey. So if you're building a business in the United States or thinking about starting one, this conversation is very important for you. So why does this matter? Your immigration status affects more than what you realize. It determines whether you can work legally, how you earn income, whether you can pay yourself from your business, whether a company can sponsor you, whether you can stay in the United States long term as well. So when immigrants start businesses without thinking about immigration strategy, they sometimes create problems for themselves. So it matters quite a bit. And something I always tell founders is that, like, business strategy without immigration strategy is just dangerous in general. When you know you haven't reached citizenship level, you really need to always consider immigration. So let's talk about the 5 costly mistakes that I've noticed over the years. Immigrant founders, business owners, they often make these mistakes. The first mistake is confusing ownership with employment. Many people assume that if you own a company, then you can work in it. That is not true. Always, under immigration law, especially, you cannot always work in your business, even if you own it. The second mistake is actively working in the business without authorization. That might include managing operations, providing services, or generating revenue for the business. Depending on your immigration status, that's something you need to consider. You need to be authorized legally to actively work in the business. The third mistake is choosing the wrong business structure. I see this so many times. Sometimes the legal structure of the company can affect immigration options later. So understanding your immigration goals can help someone like me, a lawyer, help you choose the right structure so that potentially that business can sponsor you in the future. The fourth mistake is paying yourselves incorrectly. Salary, distributions, dividends all have different implications when you are an immigrant business owner. You have to consider this when, along with your status, how the business pays you. And the fifth mistake is assuming that forming a business automatically solves immigration issues. It does not. Absolutely not. It's very complex. So the distinctions I was talking about earlier that we need to make boils down to ownership versus work. So it's probably the most important distinction that I want you to understand today is the difference between ownership and work. In many immigration situations, passive ownership may be allowed. And passive ownership is like you own a company and you're not doing much in it. But actively working in the business may be allowed. And that's where you actually need an immigration strategy to figure that out, how you can work in your business. And this is where many immigrants unintentionally violate their status. So when you're applying for some visa and they ask you, have you worked in the US? A lot of people don't know that they've actually worked in the US. And so we need to make that distinction and understand how you can work in your business. For example, they form a company and then they immediately start running it. You can't do that, not without considering your immigration status. But immigration law may treat the activity as unauthorized employment. And you don't want that because that's something you have to declare on your immigration applications if you've ever had unauthorized employment. And that includes if you own a business and you work in it and it's not structured the correct way. So what counts as work? Immigration law actually considers work to be things like providing services. If you're managing daily operations in your business, if you're negotiating contracts, you're actively generating revenue, you're receiving salary or services. If you are actively involved in producing the business's income, immigration authorities may consider that employment. And I've seen a case where an F1 student is an influencer and they're actively generating income and revenue, and they didn't realize that that's unauthorized employment while they are on F1 visa status. So passive ownership, on the other hand, usually means that you are not involved in the day-to-day. And that is allowed for most visas. But there's, like I said, there's a way to structure your business so that you can still own and have the business running despite what your immigration status is. So let's talk about the reality check, different visa types. So for example, I just gave an F1 student example. Let's look at another one. Like many students want to start businesses while they're studying. And F1 isn't just undergraduate, it's also graduate. These are full-blown adults who may want to start a business while they're studying, make extra income and earn. But however, students generally cannot work off campus without authorization through CPT or OPT. So forming, let's say, an LLC, for example, does not automatically give work authorization. That student can create a business entity. They can create a business, let's say that LLC, but that doesn't mean they're authorized to work in it. CPT and OPT is the only thing that gives students the authorization to work. Now, for example, the H-1B professionals, the situation is more nuanced. They are workers who are authorized to work only for their sponsoring employer. So they can only work there. So starting another business on the side they can do that, but they require careful structuring and compliance planning so that they don't violate their H-1B visa status. And then looking at the B-1, B-2 tourist visas, the rules are even stricter because that is like a temporary tourist visa, like you're coming in for tourist reasons. Visitors generally cannot operate or actively run their business in the US. That visa doesn't even have any authorization for that. But you can engage in certain limited types of business, and business activities like meetings, negotiations. And there's ways to actually own a business on this visa as well. And you have to do it the right way. For green card holders, the situation is much more flexible, of course, because permanent residents have broad work authorization. But if you're in the process of getting your green card and you're waiting, you have to be careful about how you start your business and structure it because your previous status does come into play as well and what you can do. But however, then the business structure and tax strategy still matters, especially when you're a green card holder. No matter what, the US is very strict with their taxes and compliance for all business owners. So the big question, this is what everyone wants to know. Can my business sponsor my immigration status? And the honest answer is maybe, but only if it's structured correctly. Not every business qualifies. Not every founder, business owner qualifies, and not every visa category works for entrepreneurs. There are specific ones. So let's look at some immigration pathways that may involve your business. In some situations, businesses can play a role in immigration strategy. For example, some founders pursue an H-1B visa sponsorship through their own company if structured properly. So if you have a company that you structured properly, that company can sponsor you for an H-1B visa. Others may qualify for an O-1 visa if they demonstrate extraordinary ability. The O-1 visa allows you as an entrepreneurship to start or continue your business in the United States, and you are working in that business. So that is an option. Some founders pursue the EB-2 national interest waiver. This also allows you to start a business in the United States, but it has to meet the regulations and the criteria. One of them being it has to be in the national interest. It has to be in the interest of the United States as a whole, the business that you're starting. Others pursue the EB-1A extraordinary ability green cards. This also makes room for you to be a business owner, this specific visa as well, but it's all about structuring. So investors also have this opportunity. Like if you are an investor from a certain treaty country that has a treaty with the United States, you can start your own business through the E-2 visa. The E-2 visa allows you to come to the United States and start a business. It has specific rules and regulations and the criteria that you have to meet, but that is a pathway for you to sponsor your visa through your business. But as I keep saying, strategy and structure is what matters the most. So let's look at some scenarios so that you get an understanding and examples of how this works. So let me give you a sample example. Priya is an F1 student who wants to start a digital marketing agency in the United States. She registers an LLC and begins servicing clients, but she doesn't have the off-campus work authorization. She does not have that, which is OPT. From an immigration perspective, this can create a serious compliance issue. She does not have work authorization. So what she's doing is violating her F1 status. What Priya should do is instead, she should have taken a strategic approach, like we help you do. She should have assessed her CPT and OPT eligibility to see how that can work with the business she started. She should also have structured the business carefully so that she can work in the business, because just because you start a business doesn't mean you're authorized to work in the business. Remember the distinctions we've been talking about. She should have created a compliance plan, because compliance is so important to show that distinction, ownership versus working in the business as well. And she should have built a long-term immigration roadmap. What's the reason why she's starting this business? Does she want this business to sponsor her in the future? What does she want to do with it? Maybe she wants to go towards the H-1B pathway, or she wants to go towards the E-2 visa pathway with it. That's always important. So this is exactly why planning before launching a business is critical. The next example is David. So David is an H-1B engineer working for a tech company. He wants to launch a startup while still working for his employer. So he was sponsored by a big tech company, and he wants to go out and become an entrepreneur and start his own business. So his goal is to start up this new business and eventually sponsor himself. But if he structures it wrong, David could create issues related to unauthorized employment and improper control of the company. H-1B, you can only work for one company, and that's the company that sponsors you. So if it looks like he's working for his new company he started, he's already at risk and violating his status. So in David's situation, several things might be necessary. Proper corporate structure for this new company. That structure will show the distinction, ownership versus working in that business. Independent governance is probably going to be important for him, like having a board, compliance, of course, with wage rules, and a long-term immigration pathway strategy, because he wants his business to sponsor him. So entrepreneurship can be possible, but it has to be engineered carefully and structured carefully. So what most lawyers don't say is they won't tell you that forming a business is easy. You can register an LLC online in a few minutes. The US is very efficient. You would register it in a few minutes, give it about 2 weeks. The Secretary of State would do their searches and you have a business. But building a business that is aligned with your immigration strategy requires deeper planning, especially if you want that business to sponsor you. So you would need legal alignment between your business structure and your immigration strategy as well. So that's the immigration foresight and long-term positioning that is very invaluable. So this is exactly why I created Visa to Venture as an accelerator. So Visa to Venture is a 4-week intensive program designed for immigrant founders who want to start legally, structure their business correctly, and protect their immigration status. This is for immigrants who also want to earn a living if they're in the waiting period. As we know now, things are just so slow for those who are going through the immigration process. People need to start earning a living even before they get their I-75, I-765 work authorization. And this is just another way for you to explore how business can support your future. You take your immigration journey into your own hands. So at the end of this 4-week course, we will make sure we walk you through what it takes to structure a business that can do that. So this is what it looks like in 4 weeks inside the accelerator. In week 1, we conduct an immigration status and business risk audit. In week 2, we focus on entity structuring and compliance strategy. And let me go back to week 1 and explain why this is important. When we conduct the immigration status and business risk audit, this is where we'll be able to know your current immigration status, your immigration background as well, if you've had any violations, overstays, and everything. But then also, we'll work with you to understand what type of business you want to start. So this audit will help us make sure that the business you want to start is aligning with your immigration status and your future immigration plans. Then week 2, we focus on entity structuring and compliance. So once we have that understanding from week 1, we jump right in to structuring your new business. We're going to help you structure it to make sure that not only is it compliant with business law, but it's also compliant with immigration law and your status, and also compliant with your future immigration plans. For example, if you want this business to sponsor you in the future. Week 3, we discuss revenue, compensation, and how to stay within immigration rules. The whole point of this, too, of having a business, of course, is to make money and to earn. In week 3, we're going to discuss the best way for you to structure the revenue that your business is going to make. We're also going to discuss the best way for compensation for you. Depending on your visa status, some statuses will not allow you to pay yourself a salary, but some statuses may allow you to pay yourself a dividend. So this is where you will learn different things like that and apply it to your business, so that you can stay in line with immigration rules. And in week 4, we look at possible immigration pathways and long-term strategies. So this is where we delve deep about your future immigration plans and how this business can potentially sponsor you, how this business can grow with your immigration status and grow with you through U.S. citizenship. This is what we want to do. Oh, I see time is running out. Let me just move on quickly because I do want to get to the questions. Okay. So what you will walk away with at the end, you're going to walk away with a business basically that is structured for your immigration status. Okay, like these are some of the things you're going to have: a blueprint, risk mitigation tools, all of this. This is not for people who are looking for shortcuts. It's not for people who say they want to figure this out later and just try it by themselves. This is for people that want to get it right the first time, okay? Immigration is serious, especially when you're an immigrant entrepreneur and founder. So these are some case studies, but I think I'm going to just email these to you if you want to see them. They're just examples of people I've worked with. I've worked with someone named Maria, who she was a graduate student and was able to do OPT in her own company. Then the same thing with Alice, who was able to sponsor her own H-1B visa through her own company. So the accelerator is starting March 30th. The first participants, 10 participants, we're having this enrollment discount if you want to join. This ensures that you are included in the accelerator. You have to enroll before the deadline. Normally we charge $1,997, but we're giving away a 50% discount for the first 10 who are going to sign up for this new cohort. The accelerator starts end of the month and seats are limited. So I'm going to also post the link in the chat. If you are interested in enrolling, you have to apply. We don't accept everybody. You have to apply because we want to make sure that you are in the right position so that this will work for you, because it won't work for everybody. So let's jump to question and answers. Thank you for thank you for listening to the presentation. And I will take any questions you may have, if you have any.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It makes sense. But I think the question I want to ask is, me coming from a different background from all the people that may qualify that you've talked about. I'm not in the U.S. at the moment. I'm not a U.S. citizen. Or sorry, I'm not even an immigrant living in the U.S.
Yeah.
I'm based here in Nigeria. So I want to know if some of these things can still be applied for the future for someone that lives in Nigeria that probably has a plan, maybe to have a business in the US that will eventually sponsor them. Can some of these things be applied?
Absolutely. So even if you're not in the US, you can own a business in the US. It's definitely possible. And if you have plans of potentially immigrating to the US through your business, this is the program for you. This is what you need to start thinking about, how to structure that business so that it can sponsor you in the future, or structure the business in a way where you can apply for certain visas. So I work with a lot of startups in Nigeria, and quite a few of them who started their businesses in Nigeria. At a certain point, when they want international investors, they have to structure their business in a certain way in the United States because they want those US investors. I help them apply for different visa categories that allows them to work in their business in the United States. So for example, the O1 visa for extraordinary ability, they have their business entity that's been in Nigeria, and then they start their new entity in America. Or E2 visa for those from treaty countries. I've helped individuals, for example, from France to come to the US and start a new business under the E2 visa. So it's definitely possible. It's not just about being based in the US. It's about thinking about how you can use business as a route to immigrate to the US, no matter where you are. You just have to have the right structure. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Any other question before we still have time? If you have a few other questions, I'm happy to. I want to also post the link in the chat that I was talking about for the application as well. Let me find the link. Okay. Found the link. Actually I need to stop sharing so that I can post it. Okay, great. No. Let me post the link right now. And remember, we have this special offer for the first 10 people who actually enroll. So that means you apply. If we accept your application to join the accelerator, you can be one of the first 10 people. This is our new cohort. It's starting March 30th. But we've worked on this, and I really think it's something that a lot of people have found valuable. I've helped quite a few people structure their businesses, and they're either using it to sponsor themselves, or they're on their way to doing that, and they're earning a living without violating their immigration status. So if there's no other questions, no other burning questions, I think we can round up today's webinar. You can let others know that there will be another webinar. We're going to set another date for the next webinar. We're going to have another one before the accelerator starts, just to let people know what it's about. So thank you
All right.
so much. Thank you for joining, Onyi. I appreciate it. And if you have other questions, our contact details are on our website, everywhere. It's there.
Okay. Can I didn't find your website link actually. I don't know your URL.
Okay, I'm typing it in the chat right now.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends in the US that are that can benefit from this, but I don't know. I just wanted to know what it's about, and then I can talk to them and see if they'll be interested in it.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, wherever they are, to be honest, like I said, if anyone is thinking about immigrating and they're interested in business and entrepreneurship, I think it's very helpful. Um, a lot of startups, this is something they end up having to do when they want international investors. And then people who have established businesses as well can use that as a pathway. I've been talking to quite a few people, even in Nigeria, who are interested in doing that. So it's not just about being in the US. There's those people who are in the US, and then there's those people who aren't in the US, but it's helpful for all of them.
Yeah. Another thing I want to know is like I have a friend in the US right now. Uh, she, she is not particularly entrepreneurial. Even the thought of starting a business is just like alien to her. But she said she has heard something like this about her doing starting a business and registering a business, and well, it basically flies over her head.
Mm,
Is there a way that someone like that can maybe take some savings, invest in an existing business, and somehow still benefit from it? To have the things, her investments in a business sponsor her immigration, whatever.
yep, there's investor related visas. And I'm looking at the time, we have less than a minute and I don't want it to cut off. But yes, there's investor related